Sorry, assholes, your quiet day at the office is about to get severely fucked up.
Guys, welcome back for a rare week-long twofer. I'm calling it Agency Week. I'm calling it Agency Week because last night we had Jason on, and he was a staff operations officer. And tonight we got our buddy Ron Moeller on. You guys probably know him on Twitter. You guys probably have also seen him on Murphy's podcast, The Team House. But if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go over and watch it. They're phenomenal interviews. Ron here, he wasn't a staff operations officer. He was a paramilitary operations officer. We'll get a little bit into that too because, you know, Secret Squirrel, it's time to get Red on. I don't know if I quite have the clearances. I have a clearance. Which was a mistake giving me one, but
well, my clearance is 6'2", and that's about it. After that, I hit my head.
Obviously, he's a father. You can tell by the jokes that he's making. Classic dad joke. But guys, thanks for joining. This is episode 14. Man, we've had some fun. Yeah. The first two episodes we won't count because it was just me. Nobody cares about what I have to say. But my phenomenal guests, who are more than okay. I'm the world's okayest Green Beret. My guests are phenomenal at the top of their fields. Ron, thanks for joining us.
Oh, very welcome. And I've I wish you'd written my last couple of fit reps. I was never really the top in my field, but thank you. I try to keep my headphones from breaking here as my head swells.
Man, I don't know if I'd fare well in the IC. Especially in a leadership position where I'd be in a position to write a fit rep.
Oh, it sucks. It sucks. Yeah, that sucks about seniority. You know, you're doing the good job and you're having fun doing it and you're doing it really well. And damn it, I got promoted. Great, I got more money. You know, so now we can get the stainless steel kitchen at home and that sort of thing. But shit, now I'm a section chief or a branch chief or chief of base overseas, and I got to start, managing and leading people, which are two different totally things, as you know. And I mean, I think the hardest thing was, so I'm the acting in Air Branch. I'm the acting operations chief because the operations chief is offering around going to charm school or something, and we had a guy there, and his nickname was Peachy, and because he was fruity, but we'll just leave it at that. Because remember, this is DC, and Peachy. So Peachy was a legacy, but not quite as cool as Flounder from Animal House. So it was and one of my jobs as the section chief for operations was to send people out to support wherever Air Branch aircraft and personnel were. And I said, hey Peachy, you're all trained and you're certifiable now and things like that. You're certified, so you're next in the hopper for Iraq. 30 days out, you're going to go replace one of your teammates here. And Peachy looks at me very serious and says, I can't go. Now, it's the agency, not the Army, so we're we're going to accommodate family issues and whatever, And I says, okay, so, is it a family issue or something like that? He says, no, I don't believe in the war. And I'm going, wow, this is not covered in any of the leadership manuals I've ever read. So I'm like, And I go, well, you really, it's your turn. I mean, you got to go out and do stuff because I want to get you the hell out of the office anyways, because you're driving me freaking insane. And you maybe you can get the Mooj to surrender, in Iraq, just by driving them insane. Anyways, so I asked him a couple more times, and he was firm in his conviction. So I said, well, damn. So I went to the chief of Air Branch, who's a retired, I can't say his name, but he was a retired CSM from old Fifth Group from Vietnam, post-Vietnam.
Represent.
Yeah. Especially now that they got their good flashback and everything like that. I got it.
It's a throwback.
It is. So just wait till you guys have to wear your tricorners. Oh wait, you said you didn't look good in that. So
wow, that's super meta and great recall. It's almost like you were a spook or something.
Can you believe it? Damn it! And so anyway, so I went to the chief and I says, hey, here it is. He says, well, so we went to the Special Activities Division HR people, and he discovered that Peachy was a detailee. So guess what? I could send Peachy back to his home office with no harm to us. Although I had to get somebody else on short final to go to Iraq. So the next day I confronted Peachy one more time. He declined, and I told him that his detail was over. Wow. I think I destroyed him. So it was kind of cool. Unfortunately, what I found out after the fact, like a couple days later when I got a call from Peachy's home office, his now supervisor, who hadn't been his supervisor when Peachy had left. Peachy was one of those children that had been, well, Johnny can't read, but we'll just promote him to the next grade. Well, Peachy can't perform in this office, so we'll send him on this detail to here and there. So he had been detailed from his home office for years. And this guy was like literally pleading with me. I mean, he was older than me, a senior, and he was almost had tears in his eyes. Please take him back. Said, yeah, no can do, dude. I mean, like, sorry. Fast forward a few years later, I think it's 2011, 2012, I walk into an office to do something or other, and they're at headquarters, and there's Peachy. I go, damn, they managed to fob him off on somebody else. So I talked to my buddy who's the senior officer in this office, and I go, so you got Peachy? And he goes, oh God, do you know about him? So I told him the story very quickly because he had a meeting to go to, but he was like, I mean, and this is the guy that anchors the bell curve in the agency. So it was like, it's like, I'm going, God, I mean, here I thought I was going to be with a bunch of high-speed, low-drag people, even more so in special operations group. And I was like, damn, I guess we're all like sort of quasi-normal in some respects. But so anyways.
Man.
Yeah, so
he sounds like the usual agency guys I've run across.
Well, yeah, I mean, I mean, he's the worst of the he's the worst example. I mean, he's a good example of the worst of us. So it was, but it was it was frustrating, and it was an interesting managerial thing, and even more exciting was trying to write his end of tour fit rep. So
you did really good.
He showed up for work 4 out of 5 times on time. Type of thing. Yeah.
Hey,
so.
Give him a gold star. It sounds like he's in line for another promotion.
Oh God, no, he hadn't been promoted in years because his home office is the one that had to sponsor him for promotion. Since he hadn't been there, they didn't know who he was. So hey.
I assumed he was getting kicked around and being promoted out like that episode.
No.
Where Elaine promoted the creepy dude out of her, so he'd be out of her hair.
No, I think he was a terminal GS11, and something, step 10 to the power of 20 or something like that. So,
my God, you can't get away from it, even in the agency. That sounds like something Army wise, but
Hey, the agency is a large bureaucracy. It's a government organization. It's everywhere.
It's the post office without the sexy shorts.
Sure, I'll go with that.
Oh God, I'm sure we're gonna get into a little more stories, but first, listen. When you type in the After Action Review on iTunes or Spotify, it says it deals in current events and foreign policy current events. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask your opinion on a couple of other things. And then I want some more agency stories because these are honestly, it's gold. It really is. I'd say write a book, but you don't have a trident on your chest.
And we didn't have a public relations officer assigned to our platoon.
I know a couple of PAOs on Twitter that may help you out with that.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah,
they're a little woke, just a bit.
I know the one guy from third group. I mean, he's on Twitter.
Rick, yeah, Rick is good people. Actually, Rick is really good people.
He helped me out when trying to. My son was is in the 82nd Airborne, and he was literally the first paratrooper off the airplane in Iraq after the New Year's Eve alert. So
yeah.
His claim to fame, yay, your ARCOM looks just like everybody else's ARCOM. And he's gonna make me do burpees for that one. But I got contacted because my wife and I had posted something on Facebook, really circumspect and not trying to reveal any deep, dark national secrets like it was all over the news anyways. And I got contacted by the media out of Raleigh-Durham and out of Fayetteville. And I'm going, oh, shoot, I better contact a PAO person. And I reached out, and I knew Rick was, and so I reached out to him, and he put me in contact with the 82nd Airborne PAO, who I spoke with, and so his last tweet to me was, I was knocking it out of the park, spreading the message that the 82nd Airborne wanted to spread, which was, I'm not going to do anything not to support the troops because, I really want my kid to come home, it's like, so. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, but Rick's good people. So Rick, when you listen to this, you can send me a gold star through the DM on Twitter.
I want a gold star too. No, Rick's one of those guys. Rick's definitely one of those guys. Little known fact, dude's a Mustang.
Nice.
Yeah.
A real Mustang or one of the fake ones?
No, like a real Mustang.
Okay.
Yeah, like he was a private at one point. I think he was a private in the 82nd Airborne. And Rick, if you're watching, I apologize. It might have been he had a maroon beret. Could have been 82nd. Could have been 173rd. Technically, could have been 25th ID up in Alaska. But I'm pretty sure it was 82nd. But he's a true to form Mustang. I think that's why I like him so much.
Nice.
Because I'm just enlisted swine.
Yeah, you are. Where have I seen that Twitter handle before?
All right.
Anyways, let's come on. You want to get up there? Get my thoughts.
Yeah, I want your opinions on a couple things. Then we're going back to stories because my God, those are way better.
Sorry. See, this is the way I distract. I don't. This is why nobody wants to interrogate me when I get captured because I'm going to make them all laugh.
See, no interrogator is any match for you. Even the most dangerous interrogator, the friendly interrogator.
Oh,
he's no match for you. Because you'll out-friendly him.
There you go. Anyways,
we got time. We got time for a quick SEER school story. I've never been captured in real life because I'm not about that life. I had the misfortune in SEER school of going through and getting the friendly interrogator at the worst possible time. So I go in, I immediately identify that I have the friendly interrogator. So I try to take advantage of the situation and say, listen, you're not getting anything out of me until my mates get something to eat. Because honestly, at this point, nobody's eaten in like a week and a half. Maybe some roadkill, or if their survival instructor was nice enough to throw them like a couple of Snickers bars. Like nobody has eaten in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I identify the friendly interrogator and say, listen, if you want me to say anything, my buddies and I are getting something to eat. And no, I said that thinking there's no way he's going to comply. Like that's just how you're trained to interact with the friendly.
Right.
And he goes, why don't you open up the door and look outside? I went to the friendly interrogator just as they were serving the one meal in SEER school when you're in the POW camp. And I look outside and there's big pots of rice and some chicken out there. I was like, God damn it. So that was a pickle I had to get myself out of. That was just some poor timing, though.
Yeah, on whose part?
On my part.
And you.
Or maybe they identified that I was just that good. Maybe they identified that I wasn't just the most okayest student in the class, and I was actually good. They gave me that time slot.
They just wanted to see what your imagination would come up when the interrogator asked you questions.
Well, they tried to pin a sexual assault on me. That did not work.
And you said that guy really wasn't your type? Well, I'm sorry. Come on. It's SEER school. You got to have fun with it.
You tried to. I don't know. I got slapped around a lot. I was a bad prisoner.
Well, you're supposed to be a bad prisoner,
Yeah, but you're not. If there's anybody like who's getting ready to go through the course, I don't want to ruin the fun. Plus, I'm pretty sure like my training like pales in comparison to like actual high risk people overseas like yourself. But
right.
All right, we have gotten real quick lightning round. I want your thoughts on the current situation in Syria vis-a-vis Russia and Turkey, and then your thoughts on Afghanistan. And I understand that you're not an SME on that Syria situation. You are an SME on the Afghanistan situation. And then finally, your thoughts. We had two KIA raiders in northern Iraq this past weekend. So I'd like your thoughts on that too. But real quick, current situation in Syria, you got Russia and Turkey literally at each other's throats. I wanted to hear your thoughts on
it. Well, couldn't happen to a nicer pair of nations. It's like, we gave Russia the opening to re-enter Syria because they basically been kicked out after the '73 war. I know you were like knee high to a grasshopper, or
in '73,
or going between left testicle and right testicle, something like that. So, sorry, your parents are probably gonna.
I mean, I was gonna say I was born in '90, so.
Oh damn!
Yeah.
God, shoot! I'll talk slower then. So. And we allowed them to get in, and there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, I appreciated the one video of the U.S. doing a little Fast and Furious road driving with the MRAPs or the Cougars or whatever they were, and shoving the Russians aside, going, yeah, I'll see your up armored truck with my robust American beast, and yeah, good for the Russians. Let them get in there. Let them get it bogged down. Let them earn the condemnation of the world for working with Assad, and and they always have some while they're looking north and to the east relative from Syria to where the relative threats are. I mean, they've always got to keep one eye peeled over their shoulder looking at the Israelis, because the Israelis are going to give them about that much leeway, and then they'll rein them in just a wee bit. Same with the Turks. I mean, the Turks, I couldn't think of a better NATO ally than the Turks. Gosh, I mean,
that was really, really, I believe that. That was
you like that?
That was
no. I mean,
authentic.
I mean, I couldn't believe and I hope the Prime Minister, President, whatever the Caliphate, Pasha of Turkey is calling himself this week, is listening. I mean, I thought it took a lot of chutzpah. There's a good Yiddish word for him to ask for Patriot missiles from NATO member nations to come defend him after he took in the the S-400 or whatever it was.
Well, they kind of botched that when they killed 20 Russians last week.
Yeah,
I mean, they botched it before, but
yeah. And then they had the nail
in the coffin.
And then they had that summit meeting a week or so ago, and I guess Putin spanked the shit out of what's his name, Erdogan or
Erdogan.
yeah.
Putin put up like a statue of.
It was a statue or a painting behind him about, basically historic. Talk about an IO
Some Russian
victory over the Ottomans.
Yeah, some Russian matriarchal, some queen or something before
Catherine the
before
Great.
the Empire. Catherine the First, who
Catherine the Only,
who definitely spanked some Ottoman behind.
Oh yeah.
It was a total power move by Putin. You have to respect it.
Oh yeah, I mean this dude is like the IO master. And I'm not going to segue into the whole Russia thing, but I mean it's like, come on, people. I mean, the Russians, the Soviets, well, since I guess the mid-20s, the Soviet. I mean, if you look at your history, and I'm an old Cold War warrior from my Air Force days were in the Strategic Air Command, so we learned a lot of this stuff. They've been doing this stuff since the mid-20s. I mean, not very successfully and not very well, but with the advent of the internet and social media, these guys are like, hell's bells. They're going to town on us. So it's and I mean, and the thing with with Erdogan was just a small sampling of. I mean, Putin's pretty smart, or he's got Michael Deaver from the Reagan administration helping him out, type of thing. No, I'm saying that not Michael's a Russian agent. I'm just saying that because Michael Deaver was always real good on the imagery around the Reagan presidency and things like that. So, but there's no reason for us to be in Syria anymore. I mean, no, ISIS isn't defeated. No, ISIS isn't mission accomplished or any of that crap. But it's basically back into a low-grade insurgency, violent criminal enterprise, however you want to describe it, and let the frickin' Russians bleed over it, and let Assad's troops bleed over it. We'll throw some guns and ammo to the Kurds and let them, keep their territorial integrity relatively intact, and switching over to the Iraqis after their great, wonderful support. I mean, my son, when he came back, when he redeployed from Iraq here a couple of weeks ago, I've been hearing some, wonderful war stories about how grateful the Iraqis were and are and things like that. I mean, it's, and I get it, it's their country and everything like that, but, they're under the thumb and influence of Iran. So, and I'll agree with your previous guest, Joe Kent, it's time to come home. There's no reason for us to be there. If we want to do stuff, we got Ali Salim in Kuwait, and we can stick a carrier in the Gulf, we can stick a carrier in the Med, and we can go back to the old British imperial punitive expeditions, except this time in the aerial version. I'm not saying a no-fly zone because those are expensive and type of thing, but let's be smart about it and get our guys out of harm's way. I mean, because I can say it now, but my son's battalion was at Taji, and so when I heard the news about last night's rocket attack, and I hate rocket attacks. God, I hate frickin' rocket attacks and mortar attacks. They suck, And at Taji, I'm going, well, I said a small prayer. Thank God that my son and his battalion is already back, and I feel bad for the three U.S. and coalition that got KIA, but I understand there's also quite a few wounded, and so it's just, I mean, fixed bases like that and El Assad are just like, waving a big red flag in front of the enemy, like here we are. Now you want to come take out a carrier? Yeah, come on, Iran. You bring those bog hammers on out here. My phalanx is just itching to shoot a few,
surface
rounds
targets.
your way.
They haven't had one of those in a while.
Great practice.
Oh man, but no, I mean, I said it last night. I talked with Jason about it. I said honestly, one, I would, I said it last night. I'd rather spend treasure over blood, really.
Right.
So you can enforce the things that you want to do, like, and Jason, he acknowledged, I think everybody acknowledges, we're never going to be completely out of the Middle East as much as we'd like to be. Like, we can't.
No, I mean we can stay in Kuwait. We got Bahrain. You know, we a couple things in Saudi and Egypt maybe. You know, we got the multinational observer force in the Sinai. There's we're always sending what you call them training teams to Lebanon occasionally when it's the right government, things like that.
Yeah,
So
seriously, whoever is prime minister, not president. That's a
right.
mess. That's a really
It's a real mess.
nuanced government with
Oh,
Lebanon. But no, you're absolutely right. And I'm not saying we can enforce that. I just want to say the 1 week I spent at Ali Al Salem was the worst week I've ever spent in the Army.
oh,
It was
mine
awful.
too.
It
Mine
was
too.
terrible.
Yeah, I mean it sucked. Although the cool thing was I'm wandering around because we flew in from the States and weird time zone change and everything like that, and so I'm wandering around, and there's towards the back end of the facility there's I guess an an open air stage, and some guy's up on the stage. I guess he brought his bagpipes with him and he's practicing his bagpipes. It wasn't too bad. I mean, I was like, well, cool, all right. So I sat and listened for a while till I got tired and went back to my hooch. But yeah, it was, it sucked. And the Air Force Air National Guard turds and the triple overweight NCOs from the U.S. Army Reserve that are there for your onward movement. Yeah, they're just awesome. Customer service is their watchword. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, you did that again. Oh, that's it. You're going. Oh my God.
Oh. Get a screenshot. Get a screenshot. I better not run for office.
Well, yeah, you and Jason last night. My God, you got. Oh my God.
There was white nationalism floating all over the place from both
and
sides, Jason included.
And you wanted to go back to the 1800s for political system.
Well, I just wanted for duels. That's all.
I know. Yeah, I was waiting for you to go. Yeah, but then we can do caning on the floor on the floors of Congress. I mean, I could just see Mitch McConnell whipping out his cane and start beating the shit out of Chuck Schumer.
Seriously, back when the whip meant something.
Yeah. And
you better vote the way we want you to.
There you go. Or and public stockades are wonderful. For minor infractions.
Oh man, just shame them into it. But no, I mean, I get it. Like I'd rather spend it with air power and things like that. I mean,
there's also economic power and there's informational power, but the caveat to all that is because I am not one of the foreign policy elites. I'm not one of the smartest guys around because I'm not working in a think tank, obviously, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But we got to worry about Iran. And we can't let Iran, we can't just, fold up our tent and go home. We have to, maintain a presence, a robust, and I say aggressive, but I don't mean like get in your face, but we're not going to be pussies about it either. I mean, our ROE is going to be pretty much, if that bog hammer or, that aircraft even peeks over the horizon, it's a dead man, and it's going to find out that the 72 virgins don't exist because they've all been hooked out or something like that. So
I think it's a fair policy because I mean the situation has changed. It's not just despots anymore. You Iran. I'd argue it's beyond a regional. I'm not saying it's at a cusp of being a regional power. I'm saying Iran is a regional power.
It is. And it's been a long time.
Unless COVID-19 does,
we should be so lucky.
Oh my God. I will never stop laughing at that footage of that absolute monster of a woman who was famously filmed during the hostage takeover, and she became one of Iran's VPs. Right. And she was on camera just hacking up a lung and sweating bullets, talking about how there is no coronavirus in Iran. And nothing made me happier than to know that piece of human refuse was suffering from coronavirus in a country that seems to kill. Like, Iran is digging mass graves for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Who knew that Middle East medicine hadn't, developed like Western medicine?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, the only thing I tell that lady, I'd label whatever photo of that. The caption would be, "Karma is a bitch." I mean, because I mean, that's when we all first really started paying attention to Iran, at least in my world, is, the hostage crisis. And so but you got to take the long-term view, and something that Americans aren't really good at, and both forwards and as well as backwards. I mean, Iran is a more ancient name than Persia, but let's remember the Persian Empire used to be really big. And then, of course, we talked about Turkey just a couple minutes ago, the Ottoman Empire, really big. The Russian, I mean, these things are like, they're like branded into their DNA. They can't help themselves. And so I mean, here's a little known fact. So everybody, like the Saudis are always worried about Iranian influence and taking over the small Gulf nations, or making them surrogates, or basically working for the Iranian interests. I mean, back in the was it the 90s, maybe earlier, the Saudis bought a whole parcel, and parcel's a good indefinite intelligence community term for I don't remember the number. So, and you can tell I live out west. Is of Chinese intermediate range ballistic missiles. And of course, when they got all these, now they're sitting in a warehouse or something. They're not in silos, but because these Chinese missiles, remember, don't need to be launched out of silos. They can be taken out of the storage areas or whatever, and then and I'm going to get to say this word on national podcast. They get to be erected, so and then launched. So the only thing missing, of course, was the warhead, and maybe the guidance coordinates for where you'd like this thing to land, plus or minus 500 miles type of thing. It's early Chinese technology. Sorry,
especially in the 90s. Like this
is. And so this development happens, right? And then somewhere in the same time frame, plus or minus a couple of years, the Pakistanis, develop and explode and operationalize nuclear weapons. And they continue to produce them like bunny rabbits. So yeah, so so the thought was among us Islamophobes and yada yada yada, is that the Pakistanis will keep it, and then if we see a large shipment of a radioactive freighter going from Karachi to Dhahran, hey, this is a clue, guys. They're gonna make these weapons onto the missiles, and they're gonna lob them somewhere. So, yeah. So I'm sure I'm gonna get chastised 1,000 times now for being whatever. I mean, I'm already attacked on Twitter by a whole bunch of Pakistani trolls that aren't even smart enough to spell right. So whatever.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
No, wait. An American from the IC pissing off Pakistanis?
God, I love it.
Oh man.
Every day of my life.
That screenplay writes itself.
Well, Pakistan's a nation that doesn't need to exist. And I don't mean that like in a nuclear war eradication sort of way. They cause
in a metaphorical sense.
Thank you. Yes, they cause nothing but trouble.
They're awful. So they're the worst ally in the world. Yeah. And that's saying something, because we have some really bad allies.
Yes, we do. Oh God, yes, including our all our NATO allies too.
They're terrible. I wrote a piece about why we should just really ditch NATO. Useless.
I mean, once the wall fell and the Soviet Union discombobulated, there's another great IC term, discombobulated. I can't spell it, but I can sure say it. I actually used it in a briefing once. It was awesome. So yeah, well, you got to. I can't always talk in $40 words just because I went to grad school, but but yeah, I mean, our so what did we have? ISAF at the time was 40, 50 nations of varying contributions and sizes. Well, here's the little known ugly fact for all you Americans, and something I discovered in my first chief of base tour out there. All these nations, except for us, come in with national caveats.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So I mean, there are countries that, for me to move off the FOB, I need to have a parliamentary authorization from my home government. I mean, the Germans. I mean, the Brits. So we were at a big meeting, and I was asked because they all thought I was just a civilian advisor. They didn't know I was the OGA guy, which is really cool. I'm not the civilian advisor you're looking for type of thing, right?
Well, that's a serious cover for status that you've developed there.
It's a serious cover for bullshit, but it's okay. But it's we were talking, and they said, and they were all trying to all these NATO people from both the traditional NATO and the new NATO, which are more beta than the old NATO, I think, in my guesstimation, as well as the wannabe NATOs like the Georgians and things like that.
Well,
they were asked.
Kind of need it.
Yeah, God. Yeah, so it was. You're digressing me.
You. Just keep going.
Okay, I'll tell the Georgian story. So they're all talking. We're all standing around talking over coffee, and ISAF headquarters there, the Cappuccino bar that McChrystal tried to close down, which he was unfortunately unsuccessful in. But we're talking, and it comes up. Well, we're the best NATO ally. It was a silly conversation. So they're all kind of going around talking about their contributions and how good they are, yada, and all that sort of stuff. And I go, well, none of this is true. And I look right at the Australian colonel. I go, because the Australians are our best NATO ally. And of course, everybody stops. And they go, but Australia's not a member of NATO. I go, exactly. And if you guys were half as good as Australia, you'd be 100 times better. So, the Australians appreciated that. I think I'm owed a case of beer whenever I show up in Canberra. But you want to just bring more beers than just one at a time? Because
I had a couple.
Oh God!
I had a couple, and then
I started talking.
I
am encouraging alcoholism.
Honestly,
I'm an alcoholic.
First off, you're probably the most socially developed and chatty dude to come out of the IC ever. You're super personable.
Thank you. You wouldn't have known me when I went through the farm because I was extraordinarily shy. So
I would think you'd want to be. You don't want to be.
Well, yeah, but I had to get out and talk to strangers and spot and assess and then recruit and then develop and re-recruit every other time because the asset has had second, third, fourth thoughts. It's tough to get out of your shell. So it's.
Can't you just throw more cash at that problem?
I'd rather appeal to their inner angels.
There it is. That's the textbook answer right there.
Well, you're welcome. See, I did pass that block of instruction. So.
My God. So honestly,
the Georgians. Hang on, the Georgians. This is important because the Georgians are pining to join NATO, and of course they're way out of the NATO geographic, whatever you want to call it,
sphere of influence.
Thank you. Yeah, what I would consider Europe. I mean, they're the Caucasus, kind of like, you guys are betwixt and between. But so the Georgians offer to. This is during 2006, 2007. I can't remember. They offer to send over because the IED threat in Afghanistan has gotten really, really bad, and it's getting more sophisticated. So we need a whole lot more people to do counter IED. So they're going to send over a company plus of counter IED people. So of course, NATO and the U.S. Pentagon, we're all like, yay, yeah, that's the way to step up to the plate. And then the Georgians go, yeah, we're going to need uniforms. We're going to need food and water, ammo, and transportation to and from, and counter IED training. So it's like, so I might as well just get a prisoner battalion from the Georgian Penal Society, to just walk ahead of me, to do the road. I'm going, dude, really? That's it? It was. I mean, national caveats are extraordinarily frustrating for the U.S. commander. It's almost not worth it sometimes to have allies because they're more of a sea anchor than a help.
Well, I mean, you also have to look through the lens of the time frame. You said that was like 07, 08.
It was the latter part of the first or the second Bush administration.
Okay. So Georgia had just been invaded by Russia at that point.
Yeah, they lost a sliver of territory. I was like, whatever. I was like, I'm sorry. I really don't care. I mean, because they thumbed their nose at the Russians, and I'm going, really, guys? I mean, it'd be like me in the third grade going up to the senior in high school and saying, "Yo, mofo, I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to I'm going to get stuffed in my mailbox." I mean, geez. So yeah, it was pretty. The Georgians just whatever. I mean, wonderful people. I got all that, but like, you need to get better politicians, better government,
and better IED experts.
Well, and yeah,
might need some counter IED training, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, they finally did show up, and of course they were pathetic. So
Yeah, but were they outfitted by Title 50 funds or Title 10? You guys
Title 10.
Oh,
yeah, none of us. No, we didn't do that shit. When I tell these stories, this is my time as a chief of base. I was chief of base at Bagram, which is, not the usual cool place to be, at the forward edge of the battle space. But I mean, I was here. I'll tell you this, and I said this. I told this to Jack and Dave on the Team House thing. Is when I got off the bird in Kabul and came to station to get my final marching orders before I flew on up to Bagram from Kabul, is the chief, who I respect greatly. If I always tell people, if I was 1% as good as him, I would be 100% better officer and a human being. I mean, that's how much respect I have for this guy. And he says, I'm not going to blow sunshine up your ass. I'm not going to give you the usual blah, blah, blah. I have one simple requirement from you to do. I need there to be zero daylight between our efforts, talking about the agency efforts and what all that entails, and that of the military. And he meant the conventional, he meant the soft, and he meant the task force guys. So, I mean, it sounds easy, but it's like you're going, and because I went in there and I inherited well, let's just say it could have gone either way. We could have either gone to divorce or we could have gone to hedonism too. I mean, it would have. I mean, it was like it was literally on, because the military guys had multiple bad experiences with the agency, both previous tours in Afghanistan, tours in Iraq, a couple guys that served in Panama with the Ranger bats, things like that. So it was tough, but yeah, I did it. The boss liked me. I felt like Sally Field winning the Academy Award. Wow, you guys like me. Cool.
My God. I mean, well, you know what? That's a good, you know what, Ron, you're a good company, man. That's what it boils down to.
Thank you. I try, and because my daughter was a corpsman in the Navy at the time I was over there in 2006, and she later deployed to Kuwait and the coastal environment off of Iraq there, whatever, the all 3 feet of the, that Iraq has of the Persian Gulf type of thing. So sorry.
Yeah, but there's some oil rigs out there.
Oh yeah. And they did a lot of oil platform patrols and things like that. I have a picture of her on one of the patrol boats, and she's rocking that M60. And
yeah, that's old school, baby.
Yeah, but this is 2006. But I think it's a M60. But I can also tell she's been going to the gym too. So I'm like, that's my girl.
Yoked.
Oh yeah, yeah, yoked. Okay, I got to make sure. Let's see. There's woke vets and there's yoked. Okay, got it.
Woke and yoked. We don't like woke.
No, not at all.
We love yoked.
But we don't really say that about other guys because that seems kind of weird.
Well, you abide by that rule. Not so much in SF.
Well, yeah, but never mind. There's always that one last block of instruction that nobody talks about. Never mind. Sorry. I'm not a tab guy, so I'm sure I'm gonna. If I show up at Long Tab Brewery or something like that, I'm gonna get my ass, reamed, and I'll be dumped in a vat or something like that.
Listen, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll provide your bona fides for you.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, so my point is, my daughter was out serving, and she wasn't in harm's way, but nevertheless, and my son was in the Navy before he saw the light and joined the Army, but he was actually serving on a frigate, and he was off in the Arabian Gulf doing counter piracy shit and what all, and also in the Persian Gulf too. But all these soldiers, whether that was the 2-star general, the SF group commander, the colonel, the task force guys, even the shooters, the operators, down to the private first class, literally this is his first time outside of Fort Drum, New York, because it was 10th Mountain at the time, type of thing. I mean, all these guys, all these soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines were my kids. And I wanted to make sure that I did the best job possible so each and every one of them could go home to their parents, their wives, their husbands, whatever. And I took that seriously, and I told that to because I had 2 chiefs of station while I was there, and as the first one's leaving, he wanted to know what the secret of my success was, which was kind of embarrassing because I don't think I really did anything special. I didn't have any magical formula. I mean, I didn't do a kabuki dance of I'm going to show you a secret. No, I will. No, I won't. A fan dance or something like that. I told them that, and I said, and I guess my sincerity on that bled through, so they knew that when I told them something, or I asked them not to do something because sometimes they wanted to do an operation, I said, you may not want to do that because I really can't say, but just trust me. And they trusted me, and they were able, so it worked out really well. And so he kind of looked at me and goes, I never thought of that. I said, well, gee, boss, I mean, you asked me, this is what you told me to do, and this is the way I approached the problems, because I really chewed on it for a couple of weeks. How do I? Because I met all these people, and they're intimidating. I mean, like Ed Reeder, commander of 7th Group at the time. I mean, Jesus, the guy's a gorilla, and I'm going, damn, I mean, I'm no slouch either. I mean, I'm 6'2", but Reeder was literally like out of the old Far Side cartoon. This dude was silverback early in the junior high gym. I mean, so, I mean, and he was, and he was no nonsense kind of guy. I mean, hell of a good guy. And and him and I are friends now, but good Lord, it was like tough, and the same with the 10th Mountain guys, the conventional military guys, it was like, it was tough because they'd had some really bad experiences, especially in Iraq. So,
I mean, that's refreshing though. Like I said, I mean, it was different for you. You had kids. You literally had kids in that AOR. You did,
right? Well, I did, yeah.
And,
I mean,
I'm not. And if anything, I'd say that was just a benefit. That wouldn't be a detriment. That would be a benefit to the situation.
It was. Well, I mean, it doesn't get any better than your kid getting on his frigate Cypernet account and Cypernating you and telling you what's going on. So, it's pretty cool. I mean, it is
unique. Like,
it is.
Who am I emailing on Cypher? I'm emailing SigDet back in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, telling them, listen, your fucking piece of shit SDN is goddamn garbage. Fix it for me. That's my Cypher experience. So no, that's awesome. But that's unique. Like, and because anybody who served, anybody like I said, I'm not like the coolest. I'm not the coolest GB who's ever lived. I'm very mediocre. I use the world's most okayest tongue in cheek, but the truth of the matter is, like, I served with phenomenal dudes who this is their life. They're doing 23, 24, 25 years doing this. But no matter how much time you spend, you run into the IC guys. And by far and away, they're
assholes.
Yeah, they are. They're you know what? It's like you read any sort of political thriller written after 1980, and the stereotype of Ivy Leaguer, well-connected, blue blood, New England type. It actually kind of holds true. Like,
Oh, I met a lot of them. They would ask me where I went to school, and I went to, I was active duty in the Air Force, and I went to night school during lunch, school on the weekends, and got a couple of bachelor's and got a master's degree before I got out. And literally, I had a week of unemployment anyways, it's all on the Team House broadcast. But
yeah. Listen, hey, seriously, hold on real quick, Ron. Guys, seriously, go listen to that. 2 interviews. We're shooting for a third, correct?
Well, no pressure, Jack, but I got a whole bunch more stories. And Jack's a good prompter, just like you. So and Dave and Jack are good prompters, and anyways. So they ask, so these guys will ask me, like I went to Harvard, I went to Columbia, and or I went to Dartmouth, or I went to the Citadel or wherever, and it's like, all these impressive name schools that little country bumpkin me couldn't afford or couldn't think about. So they'd ask me where I'd go. So I figured, well, damn, these guys are a bunch of, they got broomsticks all up their butts. So I'm going to go. So I said, well, where'd you go to school? I says, well, I went to West Virginia Penitentiary. And well, see, you laugh. They just did the kind of like, no, they did that, look, and they go, oh, really? What? I go, it doesn't make any difference. My degree is just as accredited as yours, except guess what? I don't have any student loans, so fuck you.
Wow, that almost seems rational.
Almost?
Well, I'm
well, you got to understand the environment. I mean,
it's 100% rational. Trust me, as somebody who has student loans, I wish that were the case.
I was very fortunate. The Air Force said, if you go to college, we'll pay you 90% tuition assistance. I mean, I'm going, let me think about it. I can go drink a lot, learn, or I can go to school and actually have something to show for it, and the Air Force will pay for it. No, to me it was a no-brainer, and my wife was extraordinarily supportive of all that. So,
but yeah, I mean it's funny because guys that served overseas, we know like the agency types, we know the IC types, CIA, DIA. Every once in a while, you get like some NSA nerd over there doing some SIGINT kind of highbrow. He's
right
off in his own world kind of thing. But, that kind of drills down to what you did with the IC. And, everybody knows Special Activities Division, Special Operations Group.
Well, actually, they're a center now. They're Special Activities Center. Ooh.
There it is. Oh, SAC.
Everybody. Yeah. Everybody wants to have a SAC. So, yeah, sorry. That's the bourbon talking. Everybody wants to be a center now. It's the latest in I guess organizational management or whatever.
Well, the CTC did such a phenomenal job. Everybody wanted to mirror its nomenclature.
Yeah, sure.
That was some serious snark in that. Yeah, that I just got.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean CTC was really good, but CTC became a little bit of a Frankenstein's monster. They ran roughshod over SAD at the time. They ran roughshod over the geographic division responsible for that area of the world in the agency in the operations side of the house. A little bit of running roughshod over the analytical side as well. Because anytime somebody would even the slightest pushback or just the hint of a speed bump, they would go, we've been charged by the president. This is the global war on terror. If you do this, people are going to die. I actually had that thrown at me once. If you don't do this, people are going to die. I could go, wow, people die all the time. And if you, just like stop. Good Lord, let's. It reminds me when my son was going through assessment and selection. There's a part where. I guess they give you like 2 hours to plan a movement or inactivity or an event or what. And I loathe to say the word operation.
You have to move an apparatus.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, the apparatus, the apparatus that weeble wobbles and looks like an Escher painting on wheels. I got it. So it's fine. It's funny, and so of course there's in these assessment and selection groups. I don't know what y'all call them, but groups.
Teams.
There's always the teams. Okay, teams. There's always the spring butts that want to attack the problem right now. Thinking and what and my son, who was a brand new staff sergeant at the time, and a couple of the other people who were experienced NCOs, because he was surrounded by 18 X-rays, and not all of them were cool as you.
You're looking
yeah,
at
no. He met a lot of good ones, but it's very individual determinant on the who type of thing, because
it is. Trust me.
They said, "Hey guys, we got 2 hours. Let's think about this and come up with a plan." And then it'll make it a lot easier. We don't get any extra points for starting immediately. And of course, he told me afterwards. He said, so he kind of looked it over at some of the instructors who were observing. A couple of them did that little. He said it was, but he said it was really funny. Whenever they were allowed to sleep, when they wake up, he'd wake up and go, "Wait, what happened to the guy that was sitting next to me or sleeping next to me?" He got tapped out in the middle of the night. I'm like, damn, it's like zombies.
I have 2 thoughts on that. One, yes, in terms of the assessment selection program, guys don't quit during daylight hours.
No.
To save face. Guys usually, when they wind up to voluntarily withdraw, or VW as we called it, they would do it in the middle of the night. Second, yes, in terms of team week and building apparatuses to move very heavy barrels, very long distances, and they give you some lashings and some poles and some tires.
Oh yeah.
You honestly, and I was an 18 X-ray. Like I don't hide the fact. Like I didn't spend a day in the Army. I really did not. I went to college. After college, I thought I was going to go to law school. I was like, ooh, law school, no.
Good choice.
Yeah. And so I enlisted in the Army. I was like, I don't want to just be in the Army. I want to be a Green Beret. So that was what led me to this path.
But you were more mature than the normal X-ray, because a lot of X-rays come in there 18 to 20.
A lot do. I would say in my class, most X-rays, when I went through basic training, my basic training company, it was a summer basic training. So a lot of guys were fresh out of college and things like that. I started my basic training with 130 18 X-rays. It was one of those 18 X-ray basic training classes.
This is at Benning?
This was at Benning.
Okay.
By the time we finished basic and infantry OSIT, by the time we got to airborne, we were probably down to like 60.
Wow.
Like guys decided like it wasn't for them. They needed to do something else, whatever. And that's fine. Then you go through airborne. Nobody really dips out of airborne school. Airborne school is actually a lot of fun. Like you wake up early and you go for a 5-mile run, but it's like at a 12-minute pace. Like it's mostly just an excuse to just ruin your knees and chant some super cool, super airborne like cadence. Yeah, seriously.
Yes, yes, Sergeant Black Hat. I'm all over you.
Exactly, and that's what it was. And at the time. And it's funny because in the end, I ended up being like I joined a cool guy organization. I'm not a cool guy. Like I said, I'm the world's most okayest. But at the time, when you're an 18 X-ray, we went through and there were a couple of SEALs and Navy EOD guys that were going through airborne school.
Right.
With us, because they'd gone through a pipeline and basic airborne is at the end of their pipeline before they go to their free fall schools.
Right.
And like looking at them, you're like, good God, like those guys, those are the coolest guys. They were hitting on a very attractive E6 Sergeant Airborne. And she loved it. Like she loved the attention.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, you know, at this point, I'm like 23 years old. Like, I'm older. Like, I'm not 18 years old, but I'm still new to the Army. But I was like, man, look at those guys. Look at those Navy EOD guys. And then you move on and you go to SFAS. But the point I'm making is you get to SFAS, and then you have all of the first lieutenants coming in, and they all have their ideas. But during team week, you don't listen to the first lieutenant. You listen to the E6 or E7 that's got 7 to 8 years in the Army.
You were the smart X-ray.
Yeah, right? Like, listen, I knew to shut my mouth and listen to the salty E6 that's got freaking war stories from Ramadi. Like, that's the guy, that's the dude I'm going to listen to. I'm not going to listen to the freaking first lieutenant out of the University of Texas, even though I found him funny, and he did make it. He showed up.
Okay, good.
My favorite officer in selection. Now, granted, because I was an 18 X-ray, I finished selection. I immediately went to the Q course. He went back to his unit.
Right.
I'd say, 2 years into my time at 5th Group, this guy shows up.
Right.
And he turns out to be the new 18 Alpha for the free fall team in the company. And he was my hands down favorite officer in selection. He sat there. He was from Texas. He had the greatest Texas drawl. He had the outline of Texas tattooed on his chest. He was a U of T dude, like U of T of Austin, like hardcore.
Right.
And
yeah, so you go around hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns, baby.
Yeah.
And
or go to a Metallica concert.
Yeah, or that, Not this.
No, not
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he ended up coming to my company like 2 years into my time at 5th Group. And,
sweet.
But he was one of the few. But yes, during team week, you're absolutely correct. You go in, if you're an 18 X-ray, you keep your mouth shut. You listen to the senior NCO who's had some time in the Army. You do not listen to the
right.
To the,
unfortunately, as later on in the course, several of 18 X-rays had been sent back to be instructors, cadre at the SWIC there, and I think there was a certain affinity between X-rays, at least according some of the stories I've heard, and this is where Ed Reeder wants to rip my face off and shit down my windpipe, but and I respect that, but I can't change the way I feel about it, because I worked with SF guys since the late 80s, and I kind of always, I'm always looking at, remember the opening scene of the Green Berets with John Wayne and, thing when,
of course.
Well, of course you do. I mean, it's like a graduation exercise. You have to recite the entire script. You and Hamchuck. So sorry, but remember when there's the media event and they're introducing the ODA.
Yeah, and everybody's stepping forward. Yeah,
right, and everybody's stepping forward, explaining about their languages and their qualifications.
Cross-trained. Yeah, the whole thing.
So here's the thing. So here's all these X-rays, and so like some of these cadre X-rays, and and I'm sure a lot of the G beers are going to go, fuck you, Moeller. You're not a long tab guy. What the fuck do you know? Type of thing. But they come in and they have minimal operational experience because they were maybe found to be wanting. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at it from an organizational metric type thing that, so hey, I know, we'll send Mikey down to the schoolhouse and he can, screw up the next generation. And so these guys show up and so here are these NCOs that know how to emplace machine guns and know fields of fire and interlocking fields of fire and machine gun math and how to conduct an ambush, and they've either been to Ranger School or they've been to what all these other courses, and these cadre guys are arguing with them and then giving them red slips or downers or whatever y'all call them, and
Pink
it's just
slips.
pink slips. Thank you. And of course, all the X-rays, they didn't that were especially during SAGE, when you do the peer evals, they are like, well, this guy, he yelled at me because I wasn't doing what I needed to do, and my feelings were hurt. Oh, gee, So it was just, I don't know. I guess what I'm leading up to is that I worry for the regiment, because I think, and I'm going to bring this way out, big aperture now.
Go for it. Bring it out.
Is that policymakers in D.C. and in the Pentagon, the civilians who have, they show up at Fort Bragg or down at Eglin or wherever for a capabilities demonstration. They get oohed and they awed. And will you stop drinking that beer and burping? And
it's delicious.
I can tell. I can smell it from here, and I think that's beer.
What? I haven't even questioned your bourbon choice.
Oh, it's a 10th Mountain bourbon out of a small boutique brewery. I get to use the word boutique.
I'm gonna have to say garbage because you hate my choice of beer.
So no, I love it. I'm gonna have to.
Garbage bourbon.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with it. I got a whole bourbon bar here, so if you ever show up,
trust me, I'm showing up. Bourbon in South Dakota? Are you kidding me?
And elk steaks, dude.
And elk steaks?
Yeah.
There.
All right. Anyways, I worry that the policymakers have some sort of misconception about the capabilities of the regiment, and I'm going to go even further, the health of the regiment, because we're sending out ODAs all the time. The whole Jedburgh, the 4th Battalion thing is sort of kind of been put on hold. It's still in the long range.
It's floating out there.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but you need to catch your breath. But the problem is that the senior leadership in the regimental hierarchy, as well as in RSOC and SOCOM, they can't say one simple word: no. You need to be able to say no. We can't do that. You want SF guys to go out and do a DA mission? Yeah, we can do that, but that's not what we do best. I'd rather send this ODA guys out to train this battalion or a couple battalions worth of indige forces to do that job. It'll take a little longer, but we'll gain so much more. That juice is worth the squeeze. If you just go, there was an ODA. I remember traveling around at one time as a chief of base. As a chief of base, I got to travel with the generals all the time, so I got to go to everywhere that OGA guys never got to see in Afghanistan or go to, which is really very cool. So I'm like the ultimate OGA tourist, right? But
were you wearing a photographer's vest?
No, God, no.
Oh, God.
I did that my first deployment out there, but that's because everybody did. And
you should have kept it up. That's peak aesthetic, Ron.
Stop! I'm not a GQ officer.
That was peak aesthetic. Is photographer's vest.
No, I still have it though.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
That's okay. I take it to the ring. So we show up at this one combat outpost, and the general's meeting with the ANA because we're trying to empower and get the ANA to get off the dime, whatever. And there's the conventional trainers, the CSTICA guys, and don't ask me what CSTICA stands for. It's the Combined Services Coalition Training Command. Yeah, something training command, and there were some Oregon National Guard guys, and there was an ODA there, and so the ODA commander and team sergeant find me, and they're literally like berating me because they have now been forbidden to go out and do unilateral DA missions against targets, and they said. I said, well, why aren't you guys working with the ANA guys here to, talk to the conventional trainers, say, hey, why don't we take this company or this platoon, and we'll train them to be the high-speed, low-drag guys for the rest of this ANA battalion or Kandak, and the captain just looked at me like, no, we got to go out and do DA. He's like, he was like, if I don't do DA, I'm going to die. I go. Dude, the chances are actually the opposite's going to happen. You are going to die if you do DA because, I mean,
That
But he
seems
was
like that's. I mean, honestly, like I'm not
was
one to sit here and criticize other ODAs, but that seems counterintuitive. Like you have a
yeah.
potential Kandak, and like I said, I'm not. I didn't.
But the this captain didn't have the initiative or the wherewithal to. He just wanted to focus on what he came out there originally for at the beginning of his whatever year, 6-month, 9-month tour, and he wasn't willing to transition into a new, what I considered a more traditional, UW role, training role, FID role, however you want to describe. I mean, bottom line, and you described it in our conversation before we went live, is that you like to teach, you want to teach. I mean, that's to me that's what SF is really all about. They go out and teach these skill sets to other national armies or guerrilla forces or whatever, however you want to say it. But the regiments sort of lost the bubble, and like they're rediscovering it's like somebody went to the building and the RSOC headquarters and opened up a closet door, and there's all these dusty manuals of saying FM whatever UW doctrine. What the hell's UW? Oh my God.
I mean, maybe it's as a fifth group. Like I sit here, and yeah, I'm a 19th group dude now, but I was formed as an SF dude within fifth group, and fifth group takes its UW very seriously, seriously, and it's because we've literally been at war forever since 2001. It's like since November 2001, fifth group has been at war. And I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speak to other ODAs. I'm not going to speak to other groups. I know there are some dudes out there that say, oh, well, this isn't what I signed up for. Like they become a Green Berets and they forget the Green Beret mission. Like they forget the fact that we're experts in UW. We're not. We do DA. I've done DA in the past.
Right.
I continue to train for DA. That's, it is one of our core missions, but it falls under the umbrella of unconventional warfare.
Right.
And man, that sounds like in your case, like going out to that COP and going to that 18 Alpha, like you got conventional dudes, you got Afghans there on the COP, and you got the conventional dudes training them. Like, I don't know, like as an SF dude, I'd be like, listen, you guys are super important. We love what you're doing. You guys are our security force. You're here to keep us safe. You're going to protect the base, and we're going to train these Afghans. Like that, that's Staff Sergeant Guy talking. Like that's Staff Sergeant Guy.
You would think that would be, but again, it's the bright shiny object. Everybody wanted to get kick indoors and throw bullets down range. So it was hard. I mean, there's also the time of the when Chris Haas brought third group out, there was an ODA out in central Afghanistan, and they had an unfortunate casualty while they were doing a road patrol, driving from point A to point B to show the flag. And I don't remember if they were with any ANAs, but they were in gun Vs up driving around. But unfortunately, one of the turret gunners was killed, and so Colonel Haas and his group sergeant major and I and a couple other people flew down to the location to present our condolences. Colonel Haas wanted to find out what was going on. You really need to just bring a couple of Gatorade bottles with you, dude. And
I have a problem.
Oh, never mind. Damn that gym time. And so we went down there, and so the 18 Alphas and the team sergeant and the rest of the survivors are all they're talking to the colonel. Of course, it starts out really empathetic, sympathetic. The colonel's like, hey, really sorry this happened. He was a great guy. And type, all the usual words. And I mean, they were heartfelt, but nevertheless. And so, so then the colonel starts. He Haas was great. He segues into this, so describe, what was your mission plan? What was the whole operational plan? What were you doing? And up to the point of when the NCO got killed. And now we stop there. Now remember, we're sitting in like a big kumbaya circle type of thing, and I'm on the outside. I'm observing because I've got 0 dogs in this fight, and but all these guys are looking quite Neanderthal. I mean, like Viking warriors would be impressed with their beards. They were
Beautiful.
They were awesome. And so they're talking, and they're all wearing cool guy ball caps. Not as cool as you and I's, but cool guy ball caps. Oh yeah.
I love yours, by the way. We haven't even talked about that ball cap. We'll get to that.
We will in a second, I'm sure. And so Haas says, because it was a head wound, head casualty, and he says, well, so what were you guys? So it comes out that none of them were wearing their helmets.
Oh, Jesus.
They were wearing all their ball caps. And so Haas, by this time, I'm looking over at the group sergeant major, and he's the prototypical right out of central casting group sergeant major, short fire plug, as broad as he is, tall type of guy, right out of and bald, glistening head, and his eyebrows are he's becoming, Command Sergeant Major Unibrow, and he's like shooting daggers at the team sergeant. Oh yeah, and he's pissed. And finally, the guy, Haas says, "Why weren't you wearing your helmets?" And the 18 Alpha, God bless his innocence, and damn his stupidity, he says, "Well, sir, the chin straps, because it's that 4-point and then comes down here, then it does that little thing around the upper and the under chin part. Well, it doesn't sit well with our beards, and it kind of ruins our whole beards, and we have to, think, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and
oh my God.
Yeah, and Haas looked at him, and I think he was, for a moment, he thought the guy was bullshitting him, or he couldn't believe the level of stupidity, honesty that he was being fed. And he says, all right, well, I got a couple more things to do here, to go visit some other, supporting units on this FOB. I think there was a couple coalition units and things like that. He was going to go, show the flag, grip and grin, that sort of thing. And he says, I'm going to come back just before my helicopter takes me, transports me back, and you and the entire ODA will be clean shaven, and you will all be wearing helmets anytime you leave the FOB now. And Sergeant Major, he turns to Sergeant Major, he says, make sure that all the other ODAs get this message.
That's what it is. One
guy ruins it for everybody.
One guy ruins it for everybody.
But it was a stupid decision.
That's the thing. Like, listen. Like, you're talking to a dude. Like, if you look at me right now, like I still work a corporate job, so I maintain stubble, nothing more. And once a month, and then for a couple weeks at a time, every couple of months.
I thought you were trying out for the Jack Ryan role.
Yeah, well, John Krasinski will not answer my emails. Or my Instagram DMs.
But then write to Emily Blunt and say, "Hey, baby."
Oh, see, that's the IC talking. Like, all right, you can't make him make his wife, and
sorry.
That's the thing. Like, see, you're talking to a guy. Like, listen, like, be the cool guy, right? Like, yeah, ball caps, beards, things like that. But like, I never got that. Like, guys that'd be like, all right, so we're going on this patrol, and chances of us taking contact are high. And so instead of being like, hey, let's put on our ballistic helmets, let's keep rocking ball caps. I honestly, I get the argument. It's like, all right, is this ops corps really going to stop an AK round? Probably not. Not. But if it hits at a certain angle, it might. Am I willing to play the odds? No. I'm gonna put the helmet on. I'm gonna look less cool. than being in a firefight with a ball cap, because it's the 21st century version of like Vietnam era GBs who are literally those guys were like murking NVA and VC wearing their green berets, which is that's an aesthetic I can get behind. Like if somebody was like, all right, ditch the ball cap, go to the green beret, I'd be like, all right, you know what? I don't even care if I get shot in the head because I have a green beret.
See, I think you guys ought to wear your group ball caps when you go out. I mean, make it
that. Just like do like a group ball cap or something. But all these. Like,
I mean, I got a bunch of ball caps from different ODAs, both in Afghanistan and Iraq that I worked with. I mean, from 5th group and 7th group and 3rd group, and I think even a couple from 10th group. I mean,
teams have their own ball caps.
And that is. I mean, so we'd finish an op, and the team sergeant would say, "Hey, thanks for your help. You know, what can I give you?" And I'm looking at his ball cap, and I'm going, "Dude, I'd love one of those." And next thing I know, he's digging around in his rucksack, and he pulls out one. I guess trade bait is never any extra weight when you're rucking.
It's true.
It's good.
But
and of course, I'd give him an agency coin too, because
that was
I knew
nice
that,
of you.
Well, yeah, I discovered that you get a lot of you win a lot of hearts and minds with an agency, especially with U.S. military guys, because coins is that's your guys' jam. I mean,
no, that's
not
their
you,
jam.
but
that's not my jam. Now, if I were in the AO and you came around, you're like, what can I give you? I'd be like, listen, I know there's a stack of $50,000 in unmarked, untraceable, and out of order bills in your rucksack, and I want those. I don't give a shit about the coin. There was a
5th group ODA that was an OD in El Asad in 2004, 2005. I can't remember. Anyways, we did a couple ops together with them, and before we launched that El Asad, we'd stay in their team house and things like that. So, you get to kind of know the guys, and it's like, wow, Animal House was really G-rated type of thing. It was pretty cool.
Dude, the team house it
was fun. I mean, it was
fun, man.
It was okay. It was good. But so we flew up in an aircraft that. And the Air Force, we couldn't put the type of aircraft that it was, so all our aircraft always became C-130s. So we land, and the control tower contacts us and says, "That's the funniest C-130 I've ever seen." I go, "Yeah, well, I got to go up and see you guys." So they sent a guy down from the tower, and we went back to the tower, and I met the tower crew, and I did the little Jedi mind trick. We're not the C-130 you're looking for. We're from OGA. Here's a coin for each of you. Don't go. And I said, don't show this around, because this is not your get out of jail free card. This is your get into jail free card. So you just be cool about this, and stuff like. And by the way, I need to use your phone. And I called the team guys, and the team house, and the team sergeant and a couple guys came out onto the ramp to the aircraft, and they picked up what we needed. I said, "Hey, got one more thing for you," and I went into the cargo bay, and we had liberated a 6-pack. I guess it's a 6-pack of Crown Royal from the duty-free shop at Baghdad International Airport.
That's tax-free.
Well, yeah. I says, General Order number 1 doesn't apply to me, and
No.
whenever you drink this, you're under Title 50 authority.
Hell yeah, you're not under Title 10 anymore, baby. You're under Title 50, daddy.
I literally thought I could almost swear I thought a tear was coming out of the team sergeant's eye. He didn't know what to say. I mean, the two guys with him were like, they were like, oh. I just, but come on, guys, we're in a war zone, so let's be mature about this. Only one bottle a night. But it was good. It was, I mean, and we had to go back to El Asad a couple more times, and those guys were still there. And then I think the last time they were transitioning out, and I mean, so here's the outgoing ODA, here's the incoming ODA, and they're kind of doing that. I'm
Yeah,
not
you got to be
sure
the
about.
cool guy.
Yeah, and here's the team, the whole ODA going, dude, these guys rock, man. And if you do right by them, they'll bring you special surprises.
Yeah.
And of course, they're thinking hookers or whatever. I don't know, but
Well,
no, I'm not.
and then we all can't be first group guys.
Stop.
with lady
Okinawa
boys.
honeys. Yeah, okay.
Or with Okinawa honeys.
Okay. Yeah, let's all go to Cobra Gold. Woohoo! We get to drink snake blood and hang out with boy toys
Oh man,
or toys or whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Mm.
But anyways, so I mean, I point that out by just saying that there's I got it. General order number one's important. I'm not encouraging discipline problems or anything like that. But these guys, we did some horrendous, scary shit, and so this was all I could do to say thank you, and I thought it meant a lot to them.
It does. I'm going to tell you it means a lot to them. And one, like General Order number one, and I'm going to say this out of active duty. I'm not bound by UCMJ. I'm bound by state of Ohio code. But it's an open secret in the regiment. Like, all right, so you got General Order number one. It's there. It's more of a guideline, and it's
right.
whether or not, and it's whether or not you can continue to operate by playing by big boy rules. And I think a good ODA can play by big boy rules. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, there's a time and a place. So yeah, some Title 50 goon, Ron.
Thank you. I'm a goon.
Comes in. Some Title 50 goon with a French tickler named Ron comes in and says,
"This is my Magnum stash. What are you talking about?"
And that Title 50 goon named Ron goes, "Oh, I have booze." It's up to the ODA to be like, all right, we're going to be big boys about it. And most are.
They were.
Exactly.
They were great.
That's what I'm saying. Like most SF dudes can be like, all right, here's the deal. Like we can go to war and we can have fun because war is
exactly.
Fun.
Well, you gotta have fun. Otherwise you're going to
admit it. Nobody wants to admit that war is fun. And it's easy to say, you and I can sit back here with our political ivory towers and be like, listen, like it's time to get out of the Middle East. It's time to get out of Afghanistan. It is.
Right.
Like politically, it makes sense. Deep down, there's this animalistic, primal portion of the brain that goes, my God, that's fun. Like,
I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this.
Seriously, like am I living the plot of Wild Wild West? Yes, I am in Syria. Am I getting paid to do this? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the dichotomy of the dude in like Title 50 operations and or / special operations. Like, wow. We can have an opinion on this, but at the end of the day, like we can enjoy ourselves.
Right. Oh, definitely.
And I think that makes a good OGA dude who can, take advantage of that. And it makes a good ODA or another special operations team to say, hey, we can kind of enjoy life here while getting the job done. And I know that's an unpopular opinion. I know it is. A lot of people point to General Order number one, myself included, especially when it was a TikTok. My God, dude, Ron, I don't know if you saw this. I took a lot of heat from this TikTok, a lot of heat of this female in the Air Force. And it was this TikTok, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with this because it's kind of it's not even a millennial thing. It's kind of a Zoomer social media platform. Are you familiar with TikTok?
Well, I know about it, but I'm not on it or anything.
All you need to know is it's owned by the Chi-Coms and they're looking at everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I only look at it through a burner phone because I'm not giving them access to my real stuff. Like, come on.
Okay. And that's also the same phone you used to watch, PornTube and YouPorn and all those guys.
Listen, I'm cultured. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Then you watch X Hamster. Never mind.
There. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. I'm cultured. So I got my burner phone. I got TikTok loaded up. There's this female in the Air Force who's going, "Oh, should I have sex with all these men here because I'm here, I'm overseas, and I'm the only female?" And she's having an internal debate, and in the end, she decides, "Yes, I'm going to." That's the problem. Like that's the point I'm trying to make. Like an ODA, an SF team, a soft team, Raiders. You know what? I'm even going to give SEALs the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give SEALs the benefit of the doubt. Like with that Title 50, like, hey, now you're with the big boys. They're gonna act accordingly. But there's still that side of the military. There is that E3 in the Air Force, whatever the Air Force E3 is. You were Air Force. What's an E3 in the Air Force?
Airman first class.
Bingo. Some female. She is attractive. I wouldn't say she's.
Is she deployment attractive or is she home stationed attractive?
I'm going to say home station attractive, but deployment like
over the top.
Yeah, primo.
Got it.
And then she goes and makes a TikTok going, "Oh, should I hook up with this dude?" And then she's thinking like, "Oh, no, I shouldn't. Maybe I should. No, I shouldn't. I'm going to." I comment on that saying, obviously, here's a breakdown in good order and discipline. And I had every single – I'm not going to say every single female because a lot of females came out there like, what the fuck is this? Or she's making us look bad.
Right.
But I had a lot of woke females going like, oh, look at this prototypical male looking – at this and seeing a problem. And I go, honestly, this is what it boils down to. Like, it's in my experience, my overseas experience was every ODA had a choice when it came to things like General Order Number 1, females, things like that. Like a mature individual, which you hope is on an ODA, and in my experience is on an ODA, like guys on an ODA, like, yeah, you have different personalities. You have personality conflicts, things like that. But overall, you can trust a dude to make the right decision. And in my personal experience, I've never had an issue with somebody making the right decision. And then I see like the conventional side and that TikTok going up, and I was like, "Phew!" Like, will a non-conventional guy look at that and be like, we can ignore that? That's a question. Yeah. So to bring it back full circle, yes, Title 50 dude with a mustache, and yeah, you bring good booze, but at the end of the day, you have a mustache. Yeah, we're going to abide by the rules with you. With a female, it's hit or miss. It's 50-50.
No, I understand that. I mean, you know, at Bagram, the FBI had a detachment next to us too, which was really weird. I always wondered what the FBI was doing there, and they would actually go out on raids.
Were they HRT guys?
No, they wanted to be HRT guys, but these were these were special agents from pick your field office, and some of them had terrorism or counterterrorism experience, that sort of thing. But they would go
overseas. It wasn't HRT.
No, and they would go out on capture kill missions, and they would basically do the follow-on as part of the SSE stuff, and I always wondered. Anyways, so what they were doing there, but they because they weren't really explaining. But there was one group, they would always come in I guess, for lack of a better word, detachments. And this group of guys all came from the New York field office. And it looked like a bunch of rejects from the biker bar type of thing, because they were all trying to be cool and look this and that. But they didn't last long there, because they would go out and seduce that young female soldier, the young female airman.
Well, they're not bound by any sort of UCMJ.
Yeah, but they would. Unfortunately, the young specialist or the young airman would suddenly get an Article 15 and get pretty fucked up career wise and army wise. And these guys, because they would come into so one day I get called into the command sergeant major's office for 10th Mountain, and because I'm the OGA chief, I'm also in
Okay.
charge of all the other non guy, like the bureau dudes and the DIA people and the NSA people, which was, I pretty much let everybody do their own thing because I'm not gonna be your mama or your daddy. But the FBI guy, so I go over and talk to
Especially
him.
with that mustache, you're not.
Hey, I've worked hard on this thing, man.
Well, you're not going to be my mama with it.
Well, gosh, no. I could be your brother, though.
Or my daddy.
Oh, God, don't go there. Stop. Anyways, so I go talk to the bureau guys, and I basically get the Heisman type thing,
Yep, stiff arms.
all the where I says, and I look at these guys and go, dude, how many of you guys are married? I mean, you're tapping all this young stuff out here, and that's really both inappropriate, and you're getting these young soldiers in a world of trouble, and that's not good. I mean, you're not doing anything to endear yourself to the conventional army that you're here to support and type thing. And they basically, so I go back to Sergeant Major and I says, you do whatever you want to do, these guys. And he basically went over with I think a team of MPs, and basically said, pack your shit up and leave. So fast forward a couple weeks later, a new FBI team shows up, and it's a very senior FBI special agent in charge now. He was the deputy ASAC or whatever, the number 2 guy out of the Atlanta office. So
okay.
And he recently retired. He was a very senior guy out of FBI headquarters, not one of the doofuses in the whole bullshit stuff for the last 2-3 years, but he was a good guy. And he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, what can we do to make this more better?" And I tell him all the background and all the backstory on the history and everything. So I guess he puts the fear of God in these guys, and they adhere. And finally, I say, "Hey, so what's the deal? Why are you guys out here? I mean, because it's not like you're going to go out and read Mirandize these Taliban mofos or these Al Qaeda guys." And he says, "Yeah, no." He says, so he calls me. He brings me over into his office in his version of the skiff in his little compound that's next to my compound. And he says, "So we just went out on a raid with the ODA guys from 3rd Group or something, or maybe it was 7th Group. I can't remember. Anyways, and he says, here's some of the SSE that we found that's applicable to us." And he's showing me, computers and hard drives and the usual stuff. And he says, "Here's a couple phones we downloaded the numbers on it. And you recognize these numbers?" And I go, "Well, no." He says, "Well, this is a Georgia area code. This is a Nevada area code. This is a Washington D.C. area code." That one I knew. New York State, New York City. These are area codes. These guys here in the hinterlands, these Taliban / Al Qaeda guys are communicating with people back home. So now we
out of here.
Yeah, I mean, so that news report that we heard maybe 3 years ago, that the FBI has active investigations in all 50 states.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And so I'm, that made my sphincter real tight, because I'm going, shit, this is not good, because these dumbasses, they can't even, field strip an AK-47 properly, but they know how to operate a cell phone and communicate with somebody here. So what we do with this is now we have a phone number. We get the appropriate surveillance warrants and things like that, and we open up criminal cases on these guys. And I go, okay, well, whatever I can do to help you guys accomplish this, to keep my ass safe back home and my family safe, I'm all there for you.
See, that's the kind of stuff, though, that doesn't make headlines, though. Like, you think, like, me personally, like, all right, I think FBI in Afghanistan, I'm thinking seriously HRT teams, like,
right,
guys that regularly train
I think some of these guys were SWAT trained because the large offices have some SWAT training,
and
but
they probably were. If they were,
but they're not HRT.
If they were sending them to Afghanistan, they probably were. But like in my mind, like I'm thinking, all right, Afghanistan, FBI, HRT, regularly trained with task force and CRIFs and things like that. Like these guys are turned on. But then you say something like that, which we all know, like that stuff is going on in the back of our minds. We all know that. But then you say it, and then it becomes real. And then you start thinking, okay, maybe the FBI does have a purpose over there. I mean, at this point, like you're sitting here, you're in Afghanistan, you're in Kabul or Kandahar.
I was in Bagram, but
Bagram. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I had two choices in my head. I was wrong for both, but
I can be anywhere you want me to be.
All right, Bagram. All right, so
I'm OGA.
You're there. You're literally OGA, and it's a super murky world, and you're there, and nobody really knows what you're doing. FBI comes in and says, "Here, listen, look at all this SSE that we've pulled on this hit, and we have calls to Atlanta, we have calls to Washington, things like that, like." From a Title 50 like perspective, like you're the not the station chief because it's Bagram, but
I'm the base chief.
All right, you're a base chief. Like, what do you do with that information? Like, you have
I don't do anything. I don't do anything because it's in the bureau's wheelhouse. It's in their purview because it's CONUS based, obviously, and the agency doesn't operate in the states like that, and it's that's why they were there to open up to do counter-terrorist criminal investigations, counterintelligence investigations on these phone numbers and find out who's behind them, what they're doing. That said, I've never really seen anything come to fruition yet on those. I imagine there's a lot of surveillance teams out there going, will this guy please hurry up and do something because I'm tired of sitting here.
This dude's running a freaking hookah bar and nothing's happening.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that was eye opening. That was wow.
I mean, and it's one of those things like you think like, all right, that's probably happening, but I have no proof. But then you hear it. Like me coming from, like me, I don't have any operational experience in Afghanistan. I don't pretend to be an SME for Afghanistan. I don't pretend I have any operational experience in Afghanistan.
You haven't missed a thing, trust me.
So when I hear these stories, I'm like, all right, that makes sense. This, that, whatever, it makes sense. But then you don't hear about like, all right, massive arrests in Atlanta, mass arrests in DC. Like, I like to think that like the government has its shit under control, but I know for a fact it doesn't. Like shit leaks, things like that.
Right.
I mean, is it really a case of like a select group of federal law enforcement coming in and saying, hey, we have this high value individual who's talking to somebody in Afghanistan. We pulled the number via SSE, via HVT raid. We killed the bad guy. We pulled the number. Here it is. Like, is it operating on that high level, or is it just maybe they're flying by the seat of their pants?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean,
I like that answer.
Well, you never know what you're going to get when you go on a raid. I mean, obviously the first guys through they're going after, they want jackpot type of thing. They want to get the guy. Either personally, I like to capture them because I like to dead people tell no tales, but alive guys eventually do tell you something or other that you may learn eventually. Well, only if you have the friendly interrogator.
Of course, friendly interrogator, the most dangerous interrogator.
There you go. But I mean, you never really know what you're going to go. I mean, obviously, they've developed a enough evidence or indicators to get a con up approved to go do this raid, to allocate resources and everything like that to go do this. So they go do this, and then the SSE team comes in there, and it's, sorry to use the Forrest Gump analogy. You really never know what you're going to find. I mean, it's, you I mean, you think you have an idea of that Mohammed here is, he's just a low-level facilitator, runs one of the infill routes from Pakistan type of thing. But it turns out that, oh no, this dude's like, he's like the money bags, and he's got contacts back here and there and everywhere, and also in Europe or wherever, and the Persian Gulf, where the rich Arabs want to, like, oh, please don't shoot me, but here's $1 million, I can, but
out of Kuwait or the UAE.
Oh yeah, so
those Gulf Arabs.
Yeah. So I
not really believers, but they have the cash.
I can do my jihadi freak on, and then I can go to con, and I can gamble all day long type of thing. So yeah, so whatever. But yeah, I think that a lot of it's that. I mean, there's another smaller kind of unheralded unit, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but they just went by the shorthand of DocX, and they were, I think, an adjunct of DIA, and
yes,
and they were, I mean, because when we first started, I remember when we first started in Iraq, we got on a target, and we blah blah blah, and so at the end, literally the guys are handing me 2-3 large bags worth of stuff, and I'm like, what do I do with this? So I take it to station in Baghdad, and I go, here, and I get the same question. What am I supposed to do with this? I don't know. I mean, here's a bunch of stuff that we found, and we were really ill prepared to do any sort of on the scene, or even back at home, back at Baghdad or Kabul.
Did you even know who those guys? I only know the acronym through a single book that was written called The Killer Elite. That's the only.
Yeah, I met a few of them, and I used to know the head of. I mean, I knew the head of it at the time. I think I can mention his name, Roy Apsaloff. He's a senior and executive service guy out of DIA, and naval reservist. I think he was an 05 in the Navy Reserves. Pretty switched on guy, and he was I think the right guy to run that and kick that organization, or create that organization, and get it.
Seriously, I'm pretty sure he created that. Like, he created the operational arm of DIA.
So so when I went back and again and in 6 it still wasn't there, but when I went back in 2009, again for the umpteenth time, they sorry.
No, you're good, man.
They were there. Unfortunately, they were putting out some great intel product. I mean, they would do like the first, like, it was almost like a medical thing. They would do like a triage of the documents, and is there any immediate operational value on this and that, and then they would package it up and send it back to CONUS for more in-depth
like
exploitation.
A deep dive.
Right, exactly. So it was literally, I use the medical analogy because you do the golden hour triage type of thing, and then you onto launch duel, and then back to Walter Reed Bethesda type thing. So it was they were value added big time, man.
And see, that's the thing. Like, you have like the GWAT, like you have everybody's vision of the GWAT,
right?
And I as an SF dude kind of had a peek into like the behind the scenes, but it was only a peek. That's all it was. It was only a peek. That's why, like, this is so fascinating to me, because like there was a whole nother scene going on.
Oh yeah.
And like when it came to like the DIA, like I said, literally, like that acronym you threw out comes to me. It springs to mind via some obscure paragraph in some book that really didn't sell that well. Like, I'm a nerd for this stuff. Like, I'm a nerd for like GWAT history. And so I bought this book called The Killer Elite, not to be confused with the
James Caan movie.
Yeah. It wasn't James Caan. That was
wasn't it?
That was Jason Statham and freaking
Well, that was the remake.
Oh, is that was there an original?
I believe so. Remember, I'm old.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
you're a little
there I
older
was.
than me.
There I was with Buster Keaton deep in the heart of Texas. So.
So, but yeah, so this book, like, kind of like, it was like this kind of, I wouldn't say call it a tell-all, but it definitely gave an insight into, like, this
Right.
world of DIA. And at the,
It like lifted the skirt just a wee bit.
yeah, but at the time, like, DIA it wasn't really a thing. Like, nobody was looking at the Defense Intelligence Agency as sort of an operational arm. And it kind of threw open the curtain with that. And we'll call it, a lot of people know it as the activity, but nowadays it's, orange within certain circles.
The Secret Army of Northern Virginia.
Exactly.
Yes, I know.
So,
I
like,
know them well.
Yeah, exactly. Like units like that were kind of hanging out in the background. So it kind of hangs there, and then unless you're like super into it, it never really makes it out. So it's fascinating to hear this all these stories, dude. It really does.
You're welcome. I got a zillion more.
Oh my God. Well, you obviously know, because I literally have had you for 2.5 hours, and I feel
you
awful.
Promised me an hour. Damn.
I told you an hour, and I've had you for 2.5.
You're the host. It's your show. You're supposed to cut me off. Man, that's it.
I literally can't. You have all the power here in this relationship. You could slap me around. You could beat me. You have all the power in this relationship.
Don't tease me.
So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to cut it off right now. Because, I mean,
the audience is bored.
No, there's no way anybody's bored. And once I upload this, people are going to be glued to this, because you offer this insight that nobody really knows.
Although I do have a grumpy to give you. I noticed that you advertised Jason's appearance yesterday, starting early in the day, and you didn't even like put out any teasers for me.
I mean, you're not big sexy. Like, you're not 240 pounds.
My wife's got me on the keto diet. What can I say?
Listen, he's 240 pounds of 70% cocoa dark chocolate, and he's got a French tickler. Like, I see your mustache, but it's not a French tickler.
No,
like,
it's
if you cut like half up,
stop.
Like, I'm not there.
I'm not going there.
I'm just saying. So here's what we're gonna do. Honestly, I could listen to you all night, but I don't want to keep you all night. We're gonna have you on next week.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, because it just flows. It really does.
Okay.
I love hearing these stories, and I'm sure people listening are gonna love hearing these stories, because, like I said, it is a totally unique look into, like, the GWAT world. So we're gonna put a stop to it right now, because I would literally keep you up until 4 a.m. listening to these. Okay. 4 a.m. my time, at least.
Okay.
And I have to work a real job in the morning, which I do. I had to go play corporate banking in the morning.
Do you have to wear a tie?
That I don't have to do.
Well, then it's a good job.
Oh, that's such a loose definition of what's a good job. Whether or not you have to wear a tie.
It's one criteria.
All right, so here's the deal. We want more stories next week. We're going to do more stories, and I want to hear the story of that hat, because I keep looking at that hat all night. The Talibars.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we're going to hear that story. I'm thinking maybe Tuesday. Let's plan on Tuesday.
Hang on. I'm thinking of my calendar here.
All right. Here, what? I'm not going to pressure you. You let me know when.
I think Tuesday's fine, because Wednesday and Thursday are evenings are bad, because I got social engagements. Okay.
Let's plan on Tuesday, because I want to hear more about this. And I want to hear more about this, because this is phenomenal. I thought this would be straightforward. Like, I'm going to get your opinions on a few things. The team house covered everything, but as it turns out, you just you have thousands of stories that the world needs to hear.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Jack observed, and he's a pretty good observer, that I was present or in the room or on the airfield or on the ramp or on the ground when a lot of pivotal events in the GWAT happened. Not all of them, but quite a few, and not all of them are well known. But so I thought about that, going, I guess that's true. And then of course, then Jack chastised me. He says, "You really need to write a book." So,
I mean, honestly, like you sort of do. Like, I honestly, like, how many dudes, like, all right, so, like, every SEAL out there writes a book, right? But, like, how many dudes can be like, all right, listen, I was SOG. And I wasn't even, like, the boring SOG, like, the ground branch, like, stupid, white side, soft dudes like Nick came across. And we didn't even get to that story. That we can do that story next time.
Right.
My interaction with SOG dudes. But, like, you weren't even, like, the vanilla SOG dudes. Like, you were, like, air and maritime SOG. Like, even in the soft world, like, we understand what ground branch dudes do. We don't have a I mean, we have an idea, but we really don't. Like, what are air and maritime dudes doing? And then, like, a dude like you, like, you're a maritime dude or an air dude, and you show up on the ground in Afghanistan, and it throws everybody for a loop.
Oh, everybody's a team member.
Wow. What really, that's a really good way to toe the company line.
Well,
Everybody's a team member.
Well, no, I mean, it's like, like there's a limit. Believe me, there's a limited number of SOG officers. And so when you show up, they don't care, like, oh, you're only an air guy, but you've been through all the right training. You've gotten all the. So here you go.
If I were a SOG dude and I was a ground branch dude and some air guy came onto my turf, I'd be like, oh, you're just a filthy air dude.
Yeah, you would, and then the next day you'd come to me and say, "Hey, I need you to infill me and my team over here," and I'd go, "Yeah, well, you're just a filthy ground guy, so start walking, dude."
And that's why I'm not a ground dude. That's why I'm fucking white side.
There you go.
Holy God, Ron, we're gonna cut it off before we go into the wee hours of the night, but we are gonna have you on next Tuesday. No ifs, ands, or buts. Ron Moeller. Air and maritime, SAD/SOG dude, Air Force dude. You guys know him. That beautiful mustache tells no lies.
Stop.
I mean, I didn't think we'd do a multi thing. Like I admitted to him. Like, listen, I listened to the Team House podcast. It was sort of intermittent. I had other things going on. I was doing some writing. I was like, man, this guy has stories for days. He's doing multiple episodes. I'm going to have him on. We'll keep it to one episode. There's no way. There's no way somebody brings you onto their podcast and it turns into a multifaceted thing. So we're going to bring him back on because, holy God, this is some serious insight. And it really is. So, Ron, thank you so much, brother. Thank you for what you did. You were kind of operating in the shadows. I don't think a lot of people realize it. Everybody looks to the Green Berets and the SEALs, and they're like, oh, my God, those guys are barrel-chested freedom fighters. But everybody in the community looks to guys like you. So I want to take this opportunity to say, from the guys in the community to the actual cool guys like in the IC, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. And it means a lot. So.
Oh, man. Brother, we're going to get you on. We're going to get you on Tuesday. I want to hear more stories because I've literally been sitting here for 2.5 hours laughing my shaft off. Seriously.
And you've run out of empty Gatorade bottles.
I've run out of empty Gatorade bottles. Like that I've literally have come to a decision point. Like I had to call it quits for the night because I'm done.
All right,
Ron, we're going to have you back on Tuesday. This has been phenomenal. This is hands down the longest The After Action review. And I am so proud to say it was worth every second.
You're very welcome.
So we'll see you in a few days. Ron, thanks, brother. Can't wait to talk to you again.
See ya.
All right, guys. Hey, if you guys are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. If you guys are listening on Spotify or iTunes, give me a 5-star review. It actually helps quite a bit in terms of the algorithms. I don't pretend to be a SIGINT expert, but the Chinese are somehow involved. So a 5-star review. yeah, right? The 5-star review goes a long way in getting my podcasts up on like opening pages for new users. So really appreciate it, guys. Once again, thanks, Ron. And we'll have Ron back on in a few days for more stories. These are amazing. Thanks, Ron. I really appreciate it, brother. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.